Welcome to the Knighthood Podcast, a comprehensive weekly analysis of the Newcastle Knights 2024 NRL season, brought to you by Michael and James. So fire up and let's go. Hey James, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. A bit of an impromptu buy round episode this week, but when you hit me up for it yesterday, I was keen. So let's go through the game on the weekend and sort of run the fine comb through it.
Yeah, definitely. I thought we were probably going to have a week off this week, but at this stage of the season, I feel like we're at a pretty critical moment in the season, and there's some things that I'd like us to do. So we're going to do a review of the match versus the Panthers, but more importantly, we're going to do a bit of a review of the coaching staff and a review of the squad and just a review of overall about where we sit in the season. Pretty critical time now for the Knights, the club, the squad, the coaching staff, and all of the members and supporters like us. So let's get cracking into it. We'll get the slides up. Rightio. So this is it, the Newcastle Knights round 15 review, and we're also going to do a full comprehensive coaching review and squad review. So on the menu for tonight is full review of the match versus the Panthers on Sunday, where we went down 26-18. Now, then we'll get into the Knighthood Player of the Year 3-2-1 update. We'll have a look at the NRL adjusted ladder, see where we sit after round 15. Go over the 2024 season review, then have a look at our run home, where we've landed in the last sort of 4 matches. We're looking at where we'd be in the 6 rounds with the 2 buys and the 4 matches, and we've basically completed that section now, so we'll go over that. Then we'll have a look at the coaching review. We've put together some notes here with also a review of the squad, which we did in our season preview at the start of the year. And then we'll just do a quick touch up on our betting review as well. We didn't actually put any tips forward last week. We both sat on the sidelines, and probably wasn't a bad decision at the end of the day. Rightio. So let's get into it. Okay, so the result, as we mentioned, Panthers beat us at home in front of 27,966 fans, 26-18, 5 tries to 3. We're going to get into our full comments and full review straight away. But yeah, the halftime score was 20-6 in favour of the Panthers, and that was pretty disappointing after a really good start. Possession, let's get into some stats. The Panthers control possession. They're at 56% to our 44%. They had time in possession at 32 minutes to our 25. So they did really well there to control the match. And that took them a long way to, I guess, the final scoreboard there. 92% completion rate from the Panthers to our 88%, which is high quality game. Really, it was a good quality match. Both teams aimed up pretty well. They outran us by 500 meters, so that's a pretty telling stat. I think they controlled the ruck a lot better than what we did, especially in the first half. Post-contact meters, we actually did pretty well there when Panthers got 541 and we got 422. So in comparison to our total runs. But I don't know. I don't think post-contact meters is as relevant at the moment, the way the comp and the way the matches are being played. Line breaks was 4-3, so we were pretty close there in line breaks, but Panthers got us by 1. Tackle breaks 45 to the Panthers, 40 to the Knights. Average set distance, the Panthers outdid us by 6 meters, 48 meters to 42. Kick return meters, they got 265. We had 134, so we definitely failed there. We by pretty much half. Do you want to make any comments on those slides there, James?
When I went over the stats, I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, it was a high quality, as far as completions and that goes. But I mean, they made plenty more meters than us, didn't they? What 1,936 to our 1,445.
Yeah, significant amount.
Yeah. So I mean, they're a great team going up the field, with their forwards, and especially the backs coming out of the back end. They're a champion team, and they really showed us how to march up the field. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they are a champion team, but they're also, they're they're going for their fourth premiership this year. So they've lost members of the squad, and they've also they've developed players, and they're definitely an excellent club, and they're definitely on a good run. But I think we had the Panthers at a good time. They were at the end of an 8-match streak, and with no buyers, and coming to Newcastle with no Nathan Cleary, I thought, even though they're full strength, they had most of their squad play this match. I think they were at something like 92% full strength rating. So that's definitely something they had in their favour. But look, I think it goes down as another missed opportunity, and I think the stats pretty much tell us where we're at as a side at the moment. It was pretty disappointing to see that we basically got dominated in the meters, and the territory, and the possession. They schooled us basically, and the scoreline probably was potentially a bit flattering. They scored an extra 2 tries than what we did. So anyway, let's run through a couple more stats. If we look at offloads, we were at 10 apiece with the Panthers there, so pretty clear. And offloads, kicking, our meters was less than more than the Panthers. We had 794. To the Panthers 645. So we made a little bit extra in kicking meters. So we made up a little bit there for the meters that we didn't run, but overall we still probably got outdone by about 350 meters there, if you're adding kicks. Kick defusal was the same for both sides, around about sort of 68, 67%. And if we go into defense, defense of both sides, the effective tackle was about the same in terms of a percentage. Missed tackles, Panthers 40, us 45. So defensively, both teams were probably pretty similar, which you wouldn't have seen from the Panthers side in previous seasons. I think maybe they've dropped off a little bit there with their defense.
You rarely see a try like Fletcher Sharp scored. That's for sure. In the past, you wouldn't see a try like that against the Panthers.
Yeah, but like you've also said too, James, new players fresh on the scene, they had a bit of X factor, and they probably weren't expecting that Fletcher Sharp was that good on his feet. So that, I think, Lulai probably, he didn't realize what he was up against.
Yep, fair call.
Well, that's your call. You made it. You've made it a number of times.
It's a great call.
It is. So, look, without sort of getting too deep into this stats, I mean, ultimately we got schooled when it comes to the stats, and look, we didn't make many. It was a high quality game from both sides. Look, there's no questioning the Knights play. Their effort was pretty good for most of the match, except for some lapses. We'll get in there and we'll do a review. I think I don't think the ref had any impact on the final result this week. I still, you can look at the numbers and you can say, okay, well, we penalties were 4-3 in our favour. Penalties conceded, was 4-3, but then in ruck infringements, it was even, so 2-2. So it was very, very even. It's not so much the actual final figures; it's the times in the matches when penalties are given. I find it really inconsistent, and I can remember the Panthers got a set of six again, and it was on the 5th tackle at a time when they really needed a bit of a leg up.
Yeah.
Now, whether it was the Knights, giving that away and it was legit, or it's the ref kind of keeping the Panthers in the match. It's hard to know, but we haven't had the rub of the green this year with the refs, and it's sort of, you definitely start noticing these things after you've had a bit of a bad run with the refs. Any final comments on stats, James?
No, I'm fine. We'll go through that. What was it, the player stats you had up there before?
Yeah, so we can quickly go over some player stats. Did anything jump out at you? Any players from a stats point of view? What stands out to you there?
Again, what's been standing out for me lately has been just our forwards aren't really making a lot of meters, are they?
No.
There's not a lot of guys who are really just killing it.
Well, I think in both of the matches against the Bulldogs, there wasn't one member of the forward pack that ran over 100 meters against the Bulldogs in both matches.
And
so
the flip side of that for the Panthers, when I checked their stats, they had like 5 guys running over 100 and well over 100. So
yeah. So and the stats don't always, the stats definitely don't tell you all the effort plays and the little things in the game. So I look at someone like Marju, who had a much better match, and if he played like that every match,
he did.
He'd definitely be selected in the team every week. But even Andrew Johns made comments during the match that he doesn't feel like Marju's giving 100%, and he wants to see that he puts in the effort runs every run, not just, here and there. And that's kind of the vibe I get from Marju all year. And but then it's just the critical errors in key moments of the match that really lapses in concentration. And that's what happened here in this game. It's the same thing, the same story, and it's in the press conference notes that that's the thing that lets the Knights down, is lapses of concentration. And at the end of the day, that comes down to the squad, the players, recruited to the club, and then the way they're coached and all these type of things. So, look, in Marju, I thought had a pretty good game. Wasn't a standout performance, but it was definitely an
improvement.
And an improvement and acceptable performance. Something that a minimum expectation of someone with his talent. And to me, it seemed like he wasn't sort of still at 100%. Which is that's just the feeling you get from him overall all year. Unfortunately, that's the taste in my mouth, anyhow. So I don't know how. I know there's a lot of fans on there, making comments. I'm not the only one. So anyway, it's not a bash up session on Marju. It's just it's one of the stats that sticks out to me. And look, I thought other stats that stand out here, 29 meters from Adam Elliott. That's pretty low. I don't think it was. He seemed to. Well, how many tackles he made? 37 tackles, 6 missed. He's also in that link role too, so he's not always going to be running for 100 meters. He's not expected to. But that looks a little under par to me. And where else are we? Daniel Safidi, 86 meters. Jacob Safidi. Where's Jacob? Okay, Jacob's at 74 meters.
And he had a great start as well. Like, it was strange when I saw how little he made, because he looked really strong in that opening stanza. Actually, a lot of the forwards did, but they just weren't sort of it didn't equate over the game.
Yeah. Look, we just we touched on it in the season preview. We need to see the best from both of the Safidis consistently, and we haven't seen that this year, and that's one of the reasons why we're in the latter position that we're in at the moment, unfortunately. So, it's a shame. You think that the Safidi boys would be able to run over 100 meters as a Twin Towers in a match like that. Everything was on the line. Mark Hughes Day, 28,000 people in the stadium. What else do you need? against
Yeah.
the reigning premiers. So that's disappointing. You know, on the other side of things, Best, you know, he definitely had a great game. So did Dylan Lucas. You know, he's just so consistent, Dylan Lucas. Leo Thompson, I thought, even though his numbers don't look so good there at 77 meters, I thought he definitely aimed up and played pretty well this match. And Fletcher Sharp, you know, had a really strong match for his second match as a Knight. And it wasn't that great to see him score that try after 3 minutes.
Cracking try.
The local Cessnock Goanna, cracking try. So hopefully that's a sign of the future. It's definitely going to put a bit of a headache in the coaching staff in terms of when Ponga isn't injured and he's available for selection. And who knows, you know, who knows how Sharp's going to perform consistently. He is still a rookie. We can't expect too much of him. You know, he might have a good game here and there, and he might be a bit off every now and again. But look, he looks like a player. So hopefully he goes onwards and upwards. Let's run over some notes here from the press conference. O'Brien was happy with the effort, but he said they fixed a lot of things up at halftime. He said that lapses hurt them, and the Panthers played well in moments in the first half, cost them. Ruck speed was way too quick for the Panthers and way too slow for the Knights.
Yep.
But he said that they flipped that in the second half, and that's what allowed them to score a couple of tries. Their attack flowed, and he mentioned Hastings, Best, Sharp, and Lucas for their performances. He mentioned that Armstrong played on the wing in New South Wales Cup, and he may be considered in the future there on the wing. That's why he was played there, and he was questioned about the short dropouts from Barry Toohey, the most experienced and long-standing reporter there in Newcastle. And you probably remember, James, it was maybe a string of about 5 or 6 dropouts during the match, and we got 1 out of 6 or something back. But he did mention that it's a tactic because it stops the big sprint from the forwards. But I kind of think that's also a bit of an easy way out as well. I mean, you know, like saying you don't want to sprint. Like, if you've got the wind behind your back, isn't it worth sprinting?
Down there.
You know, you might get a 60 on the fly because the wind was pretty strong. If you've got someone with a good dropout, it's worth chasing the dropout.
Yeah, so, I think with the guys we've got, we don't have the tall timber really compared, and the Panthers are really well structured when they're defending those short kickoffs. Like, it didn't make sense to me, you know. But that's
once again, right? We've said this multiple times this year. That the Knights seem to have a game plan, right? They have a strategy, and they're quite obedient to that strategy and that game plan. And you know that's probably a perfect example of that. It's that they don't adapt very well. You know, they're quite stubborn, and I think that comes from O'Brien in the way that they're coached, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, he's trying to get the Melbourne kind of style into the Knights. Still, is this his 5th year as a coach? He started in 2020, I think. So
was it 20? Yeah, it would have been.
I believe it was 2020. I was going to have a quick look at that before the pod started.
Yeah, so it'd be his 5th.
Pretty sure it's his 5th year. So, yeah, there was another comment that he made here. He said that he doesn't have a 6'7" giant on a wing anymore. Well, he's got a 6'5" giant in reserve grade called Big Mo,
which he won't give a crack.
He hasn't. And I don't know what's up with Mothindreki because he didn't play, I don't think, in that match in reserve grade there when they had a good win and they showed some good form. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on. We'll get into this in a little bit more detail when we do the coaching review. But, yeah, I thought that's another interesting press conference comment. You know, you've had a winger there all year, basically, on a development contract that you could have brought in, I think, from round 11. We're now in round 15. And he's been scoring tries and playing well in reserve grade. Frizzell, his comments were that he was happy with the performance, but lapses were pretty poor, and it's something that they need to fix. And he said Penrith were too good.
Yeah.
So that's the press conference notes. This is something that I posted on X. I saw it yesterday. So basically, the quote there from O'Brien is the talk at halftime was about fighting hard for Mark, the foundation, and for the fans and for ourselves. And I thought the boys did that. And then my comment was maybe they should have had that talk before the match.
Absolutely. It should have been, you talk about that midweek and what it means, what the game means. But, there was a multitude of things that, you're playing for. You're playing for your season. You're playing against, number one team in the game. You got 28,000 people sitting out there. Like,
yeah,
like you said, you shouldn't be having to reinforce that at halftime.
No. Yeah. And look, let's be fair to the boys. They started well. They scored a good try. It was, I think it was 12 minutes until the Panthers replied. But the Panthers tactically, they tactically targeted us. They played well. They stepped up their level after we scored that try. They worked their way back into the arm wrestle. And then they tactically targeted us and put on an ambush. They scored 3 tries. And some really costly, some costly plays in that match. And we could play, if I had a little bit more time to prepare for this today, I would have actually put some clips in there, especially that one from Jack Cogger late in the first half when he had his back turned, when I think it was Gay Guy was getting pushed in the touch, and Panthers got possession and scored. Absolute rubbish.
Yeah, when I saw that, I just thought that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's not us, just us. I've seen a number of commentators, bringing that point up in comments post match on other podcasts as well. So, yeah. Anyway, I just thought it's another odd press conference moment for O'Brien to have to come out and basically make that statement. Just shows that they were, off. And it really tells the tale of the season, unfortunately. So what's your final thoughts in the match?
Yeah, so my first point, I thought, great start to the game. Going an early lead by individual try to Fletcher Sharp. That was a cracking try, like we said before. He just looked fantastic. And, that coincided with the Knights' early period where they were looking really good. The energy was up. They were controlling the Panthers quite a bit. But after that, that's when the Panthers sort of got into their groove and started rolling down the field. But, definitely good energy in both attack and defense in the opening 10, 15 minutes. Next point, Newcastle struggled to stop the Panthers in the middle for the remainder of the half. Newcastle constantly on the back foot, and they were down 20-6 at the break as a consequence of that. We couldn't get back and up again. That was so quick. And that's just how they played. Next point, Newcastle took advantage of the Panthers taking that foot off the pedal in the opening 20 minutes of the second half, and we got 2 great tries in session to get back to 20 points to 18. And we were in the thick of it. But in saying that, I thought once the Panthers sort of got back into their groove again, it sort of got a bit. They were rolling up the field again, and they scored that try off the back of some quick play balls. So that goes straight into my next point. The Panthers got back into their groove in the middle after this scare and started dominating middle, controlling field position and holding on for a 26-18 victory. Final point, the scoreline made it seem closer than it actually was, in my opinion. And the Panthers never really looked like losing. But final, the Knights, I thought, played well in patches, but consistently we just couldn't cut it with them.
Yeah. Okay, well said. Okay, so some of my notes that overall Panthers are too good for 80 minutes. Knights mostly put in the effort expected at home on the occasion, and I do underline there mostly because there was lapses there. None better illustrated than the moment from Jack Coggo late in the first half. Panthers attacked our right edge defence, Coggo's side, very effectively there in that first half after we scored that first try, which basically cost us the match. I thought Brayley was pretty poor as well. There was just a couple of, I think defensively, there was a moment there when the Panthers scored. It didn't look too good. And a kick that he tried to put through at a critical time when we were, coming at the Panthers pretty strong. There in the second half, I think we're down 18-20 and on a bit of a roll, and I think we had a big overlap out to the left, and he's decided to try and grubber it through, and Panthers got back possession.
Yeah.
So, he's a little bit off. So, look, I just think overall the result tells the story of our season. It's close, but not good enough. And I think it's time for change. We've been calling for it with some key players in the side. But I expect Brian to be stubborn and to stick with the same players. That's my conclusion. Going into the bye, I really hope that that's not the case. But I think Brian's becoming pretty predictable with his stubbornness, which is actually not a bad trait to like that, because I think the players do play for him, and it's
how they stick to the plan. They obviously do play for him and take. They don't want to not go against his his work. The game plan.
Yeah.
But in saying that, as a player, if something's not working on the field, you should be able to go. I don't want to sound like an old, hey, whatever happened back in the day, but if Joey was playing a game and the game plan wasn't working, he's not just going to roll along and keep on doing that. He's going to try something different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You got to adapt. You can't just go down and with something that's not working.
Yeah, that's the problem with this side is the side is stubborn with the game plan, and they're unable to adapt in most cases when they're put under pressure and things are not going to the game plan. So
they don't seem to be one of those teams that can go in and out of structure. They can't sort of mix it up. Some teams are really great at it. They play.
Melbourne
really
are good at that. Melbourne are good at that.
Yeah,
that's what I've noticed this year. They're pretty good at it. And I noticed in that game against us, they were good at that. They can play a bit of ad lib, and they can play also, pretty structured, but it's not as structured as they used to be. They're definitely not as good as they used to be defensively, but I guess in 2024, that's enough to get them top of the table. So let's run through your 3-2-1 there, James.
Yeah, so my 3 points went to Bradman Best. I thought he was great. He was, he looked really, really dangerous with the ball. Yeah. I was really impressed with his match. I gave 2 points to Fletcher Sharp. In particular, his first half, I thought he was dangerous every time he got an opportunity in that first half. He almost cut him open on several occasions, but for some last-ditch sort of tackling. That's not counting the try. So in that first half, he was really troubling the Panthers. And overall, I thought he had a great game. And I gave 1 to Phoenix Crossland. I was just watching him a lot, and he was one of the few guys. I don't know, he's known for being the main guy who champions our line speed and stuff, but I'm thinking to myself, look at the size of him, and we've got these other big guys out there, and they don't seem to be playing with the same aggression or care of putting hits on and stuff. And I was just thought he's out there trying to make a difference, and where's Saifidi or any of these guys trying to do that?
Yeah, exactly. Why is Phoenix Crossland the number one guy?
And I just really commend his effort for that, because he was and he does it every week. So
that's Yeah, I definitely don't argue with that. I gave 3 to Dylan Lucas. I just thought in some key moments there, he come up with some big plays. He did run over 100 meters. I think he was the only forward to do that. And he scored a try. And he's just missed the consistency. And he just keeps getting better. Imagine him in a bit of a ab-lib kind of a style of play. It could keep
He looked
going
great
from
in the
strength
open,
to
didn't he?
strength. Yeah, he does. He does.
He looked quick. He looked. Edwards didn't even get close to him.
No, he's dangerous, man. He's a great player. Hastings, I thought, Hastings is starting to string together some performances. Seems like he's not hampered by his foot anymore. He's kicking very accurately. He's kicking good goals. And that's a sign that his fitness is getting better. And I thought he's a good halfback. You know, he can be part of a premiership side. I've got no doubt about that. He's only played 70 odd first grade games, I think, in NRL. So, he's coming into the better years of his career. He's still, I think, in his late 20s. And with more experience, and the right players around him and the right dance partner, not Jack Cogger.
That's a big one. Who he's got next to him.
Yeah, so look, I think we need to back Hastings. Everyone, the members, supporters, the club, the coaches. He is a solution there at halfback. He should just be backed to be our halfback. And I think O'Brien seems happy with him at the moment. And Bradman Best, I gave him 1 point. He definitely could have. He could have even taken out 3. He had a blinder. Great match. Do you want to run through the player of the year ladder, James?
Yeah, so on 19, Bradman Best. He moves to the top with KPP, also on 19. Kellen Porra on 17 points there. He's been there since about round 7 or something. So he's still in the mix. 14 points, Dane Gagai. Just underneath him, Jacob Saifidi on 12. We've got the Kettle, Adam Elliott on 10. Also, just above him should have been Dylan Lucas on 13. He's made a bit of a move.
I didn't slide him up the ladder there. There you go. He's in fifth position.
Yeah, so he's definitely made a move this week. Underneath him, we've got Frizzell on 8. Phoenix Crossland on 8 as well. And Jackson Hastings moves on to 8 as well.
And the others don't get a mention. They're not high enough on the ladder, but it ends at Brody Jones on 1 point.
Brody's killing it. He's been solid.
Brody's
good.
Look, he's a toiler. It's arguable. At the start of the year, we basically made a statement, let's we've had enough of just, being average or scraping into the finals. And we saw that our squad on paper had improved, and we had a good run last year, and we were expecting a lot from our team this year, our squad and our performance. And look, let's get into we'll get into that in the second half of the show. We're going to do the coaching review, and we're also going to do the squad review in a little bit more detail. So let's get on to a season's message here from our sponsor, MB Optimal Oral Care. MB Optimal Oral Care are our season sponsor of the Knighthood podcast. They have a range of zero plastic oral care products that are best for you and best for the planet. You can check out their full range of products via Chemist Warehouse online. Find the link in the description. Yep, so thanks MB Optimal Oral Care for sponsoring the Knighthood podcast for the 2024 season. And if you want to have a look at their products, jump onto Chemist Warehouse online, search MBEMBI space, no sneeze. So EMBI space OOC. That's EMBI OOC on Chemist Warehouse online. James, you've been tongue scraping. This is your second week, isn't it? So what's the biggest difference you've noticed from tongue? Because you didn't know a lot about tongue scraping. So what do you reckon? What's the biggest thing you've noticed?
Well, it's more like the amount of stuff that actually comes off your tongue that you don't realize. So, normally it's more brushing it was for me, and obviously you mentioned the tongue scrapers and stuff, and I thought, I'll give that a crack. And but yeah, it's just a definite difference in how sort of clean your mouth feels, and just I can't recommend it enough. It's been a bit of a game changer for me. I'll be doing it. Yeah, so I'm
it's cool.
very happy with it.
And most people who do it and they notice the stuff come off their tongue, they don't realize it, and they're pretty much instant fans and converted by it. So it's definitely a very healthy practice to get that crap off your tongue. They say scrape before you brush in the morning is the best time to do it. And, rethink your oral care. Vemby Optimal Oral Care. Radio, let's get into the next part of the show. We're going to have a look at the NRL ladder. So this is the adjusted ladder I've gone through here, and we now break it down. I've added in win percentage. So at the moment, there we are. Let's not worry about who's at the top. Let's focus here on the Knights. We're in 13th position, James. We're at 43% win rate. And we're 13th place in the ladder. And something I want to highlight again, which I did last week, but let's do it again because it's still telling the same story. If you look at us, we're on 6 wins. Two wins below us are the Rabbits and the Eels. What do those two teams have in common, James?
No idea. They
both of their coaches were sacked this year during the season.
Oh yeah, true.
And then what do the other two teams have in common below them on 3 wins?
I don't know. Give it to me.
Both of them have new coaches for the season.
There's Hasler,
and Benji. So there you go. Now we're only 1 position on the ladder, 2 wins above them. It's a fine line this season, and I just think we're going to get into the coaching review and the squad review, but ultimately it comes down to we have a squad on paper that is a top 8, potentially a top 4 squad. Maybe top 4 was pushing it a little bit, but that we are definitely a top 8 squad. With the players that we've got in our squad, we are, and the way that we performed last year, we should be in the top 8 this year. And I'm not saying we're not going to make the top 8, but it's not looking good at the moment. It's not looking good because we've got a stubborn coach who continues to pick some players in certain positions, and our tactics seem to be a little bit off. We also haven't had the rub of the green with the refs, and we're probably 2 or 3 wins behind where we should be. So talking about that, 4 weeks ago or so, we put this together. This is the run home between round 11 and 16, and we had a good win there against the Titans going into the bye. We managed to get the chocolates in a pretty tight contest. They did really well to fight back in the second half there and go into a bye, and then it's been a disaster in my opinion. The last 2 performances have been the effort's been there, but it all started from that horrible performance against the Bulldogs at home. We were thinking 2 from 3 here. We were thinking we'll beat the Bulldogs at home and we'll get one of those 2 against the Storm and the Panthers, and we went close. I think the ref potentially cost us there against the Storm. It definitely could have at least went to extra time or been a really close finish with a few decisions going our way, especially that forward pass try. And look, we can't say that against the Panthers. They just beat us fair and square. Lapses in concentration, tactics. They haven't got it together. O'Brien, he's been pretty stubborn with the team selections in this period, and I don't you got to back. He's backing his players. He's backing himself. He's backing his tactics. He's backing the players that he wants in the team. But guess what? They just lost 3 matches in a row. And guess what? You don't look at ladders, O'Brien. We're 13th right now, and we're only 2 wins away from those teams who the coaches have been sacked, and we're right. It's just extremely frustrating after round 15 to be in the position that we're in. If we roll on to the next slide, this is our pass or fail for the year. And I've noted that we've effort has been there 10 matches out of 14. The first 2 matches, I think we just got it totally wrong. We just didn't turn up. We didn't aim up. Both matches, we got it wrong. And that comes down to tactics. I think we got tactics wrong. I think we got team selections wrong. So definitely tactics against the Raiders. Playing Cogger in 14, definitely in the Cowboys match, hindered our attack. And then just 2 absolute terrible performances against the Bulldogs. One away, one at home. But overall, 10, we've aimed up, I think, and played well. And even though some of those matches we've won and we've lost, those matches where we've got crosses, none of those matches we won. So just goes to show you, if you don't turn up in the NRL, you won't win. It's as simple as that. And the matches where we've got the smiley faces, well, there's 10 of them, but we've only won 6. So we're unfortunately we're failing. And it does. I think personally, it comes down to team selections. It comes down to tactics. It comes down to Kalen Ponga not managing the tactics and the game plan right at the start of the season with him. Our style of play and our attack in Ponga. And
what do you think of one thing that I went over today was from the Titans game. So the last 4 games we've leaked, I think it's 118 points at 29.5 per game. And that wasn't really happening too much. Like
that's a good stat.
We had pretty good defense apart from the occasional high scoring game leading up to that. But to string 4 of those together, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, you've come up with a nice stat there, James. That you're on fire. 28. Yeah, you're right. 28 and a half a game.
Got to bring something to the table.
You do every week, mate. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, if we go back to the ladder, we don't have a for and against on here. Anyway, you just opened my mind up to look, that's that's it. When it's all on the line in those 3 matches, how can we win? And what have we scored? We scored 56 points. Yeah, we've scored 56 points. What's that? So that's 18 a match. Yeah. Look, O'Brien, at the end of the day, he let's get into the coaching review. So some key points here that I've just touched on is I think and this is what we had a chat about this pre-pod. One of your points there was playing Cogger into 14 was a mistake, and I agree with that. And definitely coaching tactics, especially the tactic against the Raiders in round 1, just showed that we were overconfident and we thought we were going to just turn up and win that match. And then they didn't get that right at the start of the season. Then they turned things around and did fix that. They come out and beat Melbourne. But once again, it's like we shouldn't have started the season in that fashion after, they're basically talking up that they should be a top 4 side this year. That's what their goal is, to make it top 4. They've had a great off season. Ponga's had a great off season. And they just got it wrong. Tactics and selections. and ultimately it comes down to these things which determine our ladder position at the minute. So I think, do you have any comments in regards to that? I mean, there's a number of examples that we can bring up. If you've got any that come to mind, James. I mean, the Cogger one, when it comes to team selections, is an obvious one. But should we run over a couple of things there with the team selections? I mean, like, why did why is Hetherington, for example, why did he only play 10 minutes on
what
Sunday?
Was he going to do? Exactly right. It's crazy, and you want some big boys out there giving it to the Penrith guys.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you utilize him? And he's an aggressive guy. I don't know. That's AOB's out.
It seems like he doesn't let Hetherington be Hetherington, and he isn't. I don't think he coaches him right. Because ever since that Bulldogs incident happened, we haven't really seen him in the side. He's basically been, he's been on the out.
He sees him as a liability or something, but surely he's. I don't know. I think you need those types of guys.
His form at the start of the season was good. He was playing really well. Really well. Yeah. So look, Hetherington's one. But do you have any other ones that come to your mind? I mean, obviously we've gone over Cogger with Hetherington's an obvious one. I mean, Matt Croker. We haven't seen
what
a
happened
lot
to
of
him?
Matt Croker this year. He's kind of been on the outer. And I don't mind that really. I mean, over Brodie Jones, we can't see behind the scenes and what's going on and the culture of the side and all these type of things. So, we can't be too critical here. You got to back him with some things, but yeah, I mean,
the wing position as well. I mean,
let's get into that. I mean, they're the obvious one. We've been going on to it a lot. I'm trying not to start there this week, but yeah, Motham-Drakey and Price. I mean, why haven't they been given an opportunity? O'Brien from the start of the season has backed Cogger. Backed him at 14, now backing him at 6. There's also been a number of changes to the spine that didn't work earlier in the season. Hastings was dropped. And I just think everything revolves around Cogger, Jack Cogger. And he just hasn't named up. The coach has backed him and he's failed. So, there's a note there that he belittled Will Price and also took on Andrew Johns in a press conference over this.
Yeah,
so
he's
doesn't look good for O'Brien really.
Yeah, I'm just noticing some stuff, or have this season with his press conferences. He seems a bit off, and even stuff like that. He's what he did with Will Price was, and I think I meant yesterday it was just really unprofessional, especially if you're trying to get the best out of a guy, and he hears that in a press conference. To me, it's just not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. What do you think about Motham-Drakey? He hasn't been picked on the wing. I mean, Tuala and you constantly pick. Here's another selection. You're constantly backing. You're backing other players that are not really always showing the effort week in, week out. They're making critical errors at critical times in Marju, and it's done my head in this year. And when they get selected and they don't aim up, and you could see it coming. That's what bangs your head against the wall. Just when it comes to team selections, things like that, all these little things add up and make a difference. And it's if he made a few different calls here and there, he made some interchange errors. I think it was in the Roosters match. He said he didn't get the interchange right, and then remember the Roosters poured through us in the middle.
That's right. Yeah,
that was, and he came out and admitted that in a press conference. So I think there's been a lot of mistakes this year in terms of team selection, backing certain players, not backing other players. Questionable tactics, boring tactics. The 1 minute the side's too overconfident. Next minute, they can't execute a simple game plan. It's a bit of a shambles. For the squad that they've got, I think it's a bit of a shambles. Have you got any notes there on coaching tactics?
I don't know. To be honest, what you said, like it's a shambles. It hasn't made sense to me this year. It's been, whether it gets back to O'Brien's stubbornness, but it's just some of the things, like, I didn't understand the Cogger being at 14. What's he going to offer there? He's not a dynamic impact sort of 14, like or anyone in that position, like Connor Watson, for instance.
Yeah, I guess in fairness to O'Brien there, I mean, he was on the bench for the Panthers. So, in fairness to O'Brien, we've got to cut him maybe some slack there because he was on the bench for the Panthers and won a grand final off the bench for the Panthers. So that we can't really I think we're giving a little bit of slack on that one. I can see why he was probably picked in the 14, but and obviously he did change. He didn't stick with that, and then Hastings eventually got dropped. But then
Gamble got dropped as well, didn't he?
Gamble got dropped. Yeah. Look, he hasn't got it right. Selections in the halves and the spine, and maybe Cogger should have. Maybe Crossland should have played a little bit more. Maybe Crossland should have been starting, and Brayley should have just been coming off the bench. Although I didn't think it was a bad tactic to have Brayley starting and then Crossland coming in off the bench.
What I'll say regarding wingers, though, and him refusing to give Mothindriki a crack, is that he was quite happy to put Jenkins out there, who was a liability for multiple games.
Yep.
And give him a chance, but apparently Mothindriki doesn't get a shot because he's worried he's going to make a mistake.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
This baffles me. This worried he's going to make a mistake thing. It's I don't know. There's a bit of a culture. Yeah, look, you've got to, in my opinion, Mothindriki and Price are the type of players in those positions that you want to pick. Mothindriki with his height, very kind of almost a similar like-for-like replacement for Dom Young. Develop him, coach him, bring him into the side, and make him part of the team. But he rewarded Tuala. O'Brien is a loyal guy, and Tuala probably deserved a shot, and he has played pretty consistently. But is that actually the question you got to ask yourself? Is that enough to actually take you to a top four or take you to a grand final? I don't think it is. I think Tuala is a great backup player. You've got to try and develop the guy that actually has the characteristics to potentially take you further. And that brings you to Will Price. They chucked KPP in the team, and he's equal first on the player of the year ladder for us.
Yeah, he's been killing it.
Who's to say if Price wasn't put straight in there, or maybe not straight in there, but let's say he did get put straight in there and the team backed him, he might be on the top of the ladder. We don't know.
Well, to me, he'd make a really, really good 14.
Yeah, he just hasn't.
Get him in there.
He just hasn't been looked at and constantly ignored. And look, it's just it's frustrating, isn't it? It's it's all these little things add up to us being 13th on the ladder right now at the end of the day. And like I said at the start, I'm not overly confident that he's got some things to consider now in the bye. Does he stick with these players? Because they've got a pretty good run coming up against lesser teams. So I think the Eels is the first match coming up. Is he going to stick
that'll
with
be after Origin.
Yeah.
So it'll be after Origin with Moses backing up and stuff like that. So
is he going to actually stick with these? I mean, if he sticks with the same tactics, if he sticks with the same team selections, and the Knights lose their next few games that they should win, I'm calling for his head. It's as simple as that. Because he's in maybe his 5th year as a coach of our side, and we've made a couple of top 8. There's been a couple of top 8 performances in there. It might actually be his 4th this year. Actually, can you check that, James? Just whilst we're having a quick chat, do a quick Google on that. We should have got that before the. Pardon us, we've got to do a bit of on-fly research here.
But so it also comes down to with O'Brien, for instance, is that if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results, aren't you? Like, you got to try something different if it's working.
Yeah, but I guess in his defense as well, you've got to stick to the. I guess he's learnt what he's learned at Melbourne, and there's a certain style that he saw there, ultra successful, that he was part of for a long time. Yeah, but I mean, the question is, has he actually adapted to 2024 and consolidated all of his experience and brought it all together? And I don't know.
So we got
I think it's a fail right now for me.
Definitely. So we got Adam O'Brien started coaching the Knights. He's coached 109 games for the Knights.
2020, right? Was it 2020?
2020. 50 wins, 57 losses, win percentage 46.
46%. And what are we at? 43% this season.
And I think he'd be the longest or second longest serving Knights coach now. How long was Eggs? Eggs was pretty around for a while.
He might even be the longest. I'm not so sure about the history and that. Yeah, it's. Yeah, look, we're coming into a crossroads again. This time last year, O'Brien was at a crossroads. I think we're there again. I think we've underperformed this year. I'm not happy about the team's performance overall, especially when I can see little things around team selections and around tactics. Maybe a bit of a luck with the refs and stuff. We could be, the Dolphins are on 8 wins, which is only 2 above us, and that gets them equal 4th right now.
Yeah.
So, and the whole theme for us at the start of the year is that we're not here to stuff around. We basically want to make the top 4 this year, and we want to start seeing this club and this squad and everyone aim up. And become a consistent top 4 challenger. And they've failed. That's it. Bottom line is they failed at that. We're in round 15. We've got 10 matches left. And to make the top 8 now, we're struggling to make the top 8. We need to win 7 of our next 10 matches to give ourselves even a chance of making the top 8. But guess what? We don't have Kalen Ponga this year to take us on a 10-match win streak. So that's it's going to be tough, and that's it. The writing's on the wall. It's not going to be a repeat of last year. It's not going to be 10 in a row. And that's where we're at. We've got 10 matches left. So can we win 7 of them and scrape into the top 8, because top 4 is out of the question at the minute.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, looking back to how we played in that period last year, we were really good defensively, but we're also being able to score points. At the moment, we're looking a bit dodgy defensively and not bloody score points.
And that's why players like Mothindriki and Price should be considered, because they're the type of players that can get you a steal off the dropout, right? There's the player, kicked him off Mothindriki. And you saw it in the trials early in the season. There was a kick. I think Hastings put up a kick and he batted it back in and we scored a try, right? So just by putting the right players there with the right attributes sets you up for success, and then you coach them. And that's what I said at the start of the season. That's what overall there's a lot of positives from the squad. Look at players like Lucas and KPP and their performance, and I thought Gay Guy this year's been good, and Best has played well, and the development of Armstrong, and Sharp. There are a lot of positives there, and O'Brien's a head coach, and he definitely gets a pat on the back for a lot of those things too. But at the end of the day, it's a fine line between making the finals, making the 4, or actually being on the bottom of the ladder. And when you can see obvious things standing out, it's extremely frustrating. And that's why we're here tonight on the bye round. We were going to have a week off, but I think it's a critical moment in time in the season. I want to put on the record with James. I want to put a line in the sand where we're at as a club, as a squad, as a coaching, and as a fans and supporters of United podcast. We've underperformed, and the next 10 matches are critical. If we don't make the finals this year, what do you think, James? Should O'Brien keep his job, or should we make a tough decision? You know, it's like thanks, Adam. If we don't make the finals this year, mate, you had 5 years. You know, we missed out on the finals this year, probably when we had the best squad and run. We didn't do it, so adios. Let's bring in Brad Arthur.
I'm more than happy for him to go if we sort of just whimper towards the end of the season and not really fire a shot. I just think, look, you've had 5 seasons. I know he's only recently signed that extension or whatever, but what the hell does the contract mean in the NRL these days? Doesn't mean jack shit. So I think I mean, obviously that's something the hierarchy at the Knights have got to look at. Is it worth going through another 1 or 2 seasons of potential?
No. That's why right here, right now, I'm very passionate about this, and you know, that's the reason I wanted to do the podcast this year, because I had something to say, and you know, we're both are passionate Novocastrians, and we expect performance. We expect results now after this amount of time. And if we don't make the finals this year, Adam O'Brien has to go.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Bring back the hashtag.
Look, it's nothing against him personally, but I think, four seasons he's been there. We've made the finals 3 times. We've done nothing in the finals. The club has developed and moved forward in a good direction. But I don't know. I really just think this year we've really just missed an opportunity. 2 more wins and we could be sitting in the top 4, you know, or right up there with a good chance of making the top 8. And right now we're in that same position we were last year. We've got to win 7 from 10, and we don't even have Ponga on the field, our best player. And questionable coaching decisions, team selections. I don't think would be. I don't. If we had a, I'm not advocating for Brad Arthur. Maybe in some way I am. I think this guy is. I don't think we'd be questioning here Brad Arthur like we are Adam O'Brien.
Well, I think
if he was a head coach,
I think looking at the season so far, I haven't seen a lot of the issues have come from the coaching side of things and tactical side. The players have actually, for the most part, done their part.
I think so.
Apart from the games where there's been a few blowouts and whatever. But in saying that, I think a lot of the issues have stemmed off O'Brien. Whether it's maybe ruling with an iron fist with the you've got to play like this. You've got to be like that. Not let them loosen up a bit. Let them throw the ball around. We don't know what goes on behind, if that's the case or not. But
well, that's what it seems like to us. And at the end of the day, we're entitled to our opinion. And I think at the end of the day, if you go over our track record so far for the season, and you look at our betting record, that's what the proof comes to the pudding. We're at a 17% return on investment. I mean, James, you're a bit of a rookie punter. So it's not so much about the money, but our judgment this year has been pretty spot on. I think even last week, even though we didn't put a bet last week on the podcast, I said at the end of the show, I'm leaning towards taking the Knights with the start. And I think the line was 10.5. And I said we'll probably take 8.5 to get the odds a bit better. And guess what? They won by 8. So we would have landed that bet too if we had last week. And most weeks we've been able to predict the team when they win and they lose. And there's been a couple of shockers there when against the Bulldogs, I think, when it's just been totally, both of those games I expected that we'd win. and we didn't. So, look, it's not a reflection. What I'm trying to get to here is our judgment this year of the side and how they're going to perform. Overall has been probably better than most, and we've gone through a lot of a very consistent process here of review and preview, and our judgment's been pretty good, and we're putting it on the record here tonight. We're not going to stand for another mediocre season, and if we don't make the finals this year, from my point of view, I don't think O'Brien should be the coach moving into the 2025 season. I don't want to have to go through this again. And since God, it's been so long since we've actually been in a position to challenge for a grand final. Back, I think, since the Bennett era in 2013 or 2014?
Yeah, Wayne took us to a prelim, didn't he?
Yeah, we got to a prelim in 2013. So that's 11 years ago now. That's the best we've done. And we've been through rebuilds of Nathan Brown and consecutive wooden, I think 3 in a row. Did we have 3 in a row wooden spoons? And so we went through the rebuild with Brown, and then we got O'Brien, and this is what we've achieved with O'Brien. Maybe he's not the coach to take us into that next phase. He's had a long stint here, and he's got us to a certain point. I think this year with the squad he's had, that we should be sitting on 8 or 9 wins and be sitting in the top 4. That's what I think. At the end of the day, that's my final judgment. What's yours, James? The final say on it? Coaching review?
No, I think we pretty much went across the whole spectrum there. Look, I think it's been the major issue of the season. Like I mentioned before.
Unfortunately.
I can't see that if we bow out of this season without making the semis and just capitulate, how he can keep his position, to be honest, because
he's got a contract. I mean, that's how he can keep his position. And we do have some news. It's not breaking news. I think it's going to come up soon. So there are some changes happening at the Knights in terms of the recruitment and the structure there. So anyway, well, let's talk about it now. So I think it's Peter Mulholland. He's the current recruitment manager for the Dolphins. So he's basically done a great job there. And he's got a good background. I think he's probably the most well-regarded recruitment manager in the NRL. And I think he's now signed Peter Parr's managed to get him to the club, which is it's a great win based on his reputation. And we can basically say now that we've got a very experienced recruitment manager who basically built the Dolphins squad up there, not based off stars, but just based off solid players. So look, I think that's a real positive signing that's happened in the last couple of weeks that was announced, and the news is starting to come out now. So with that change, that may coincide with a coaching change. We're going to make the call here right now. If the Knights make the finals, I think O'Brien will keep his job. But if he doesn't, and maybe there's something in his contract that we don't know about, there might be some kind of a clause there where they can do something with his contract and move him on. And if I had to say right now, if I had to back a coach to take us to a grand final, and if I had, the current coaches on the market, I'd be going for Brad Arthur. I'd be definitely going for Brad Arthur.
But if we look at O'Brien, right, you take out the 10-game streak of last year.
Yeah.
Like he would have been gone if we didn't go on that run. But take out the 10-game winning streak and he gets his contract renewed. Well, it's not much really to say about it, is there?
Well, the thing to say about it is that you shouldn't be signing a coach when they're right on top of a 10-match winning streak. And
we were pretty average to start the season as well.
When they were average before. So look, it wasn't a great timing to be signing him on a long-term deal. I'm hoping that if they don't make the final, I want us to make the finals. I don't want us to miss the finals. And I'll put on the record. I don't want Adam O'Brien to get sacked. I want us to make the finals and perform. But guess what? We're not, and it doesn't look like we're even going to make the top 8. So if that's the case, we need a new coach. Let's get into the squad review. So this is another thing, another reason why we're in a bit of a position right now. We only signed 29 players out of the top 30, and we also we now lost one because we lost Cartwright. He's gone to England immediately. So we've only got 28. We haven't signed any new players. So the recruitment haven't done anything here to bring in 2 more players into the squad. And then they're being stubborn with Moffendriki and Price and not bringing them into the squad. So I think that's definitely something that hasn't gone in our favour. The squad, the final touches on the squad, and maybe that's got something to do with the new recruitment manager coming in. But if we're going to quickly just whip through this squad. So I mean, overall, the fullback position. Ponga's been out injured, but it did show good form when he was in the side. But the actual side didn't play so well with Ponga. Tactically, we didn't get things really right there. But shining lights have been Armstrong and Sharp. Armstrong's done a bat flip on us, and he's out of here. He's going to England on a better contract. But signs are great there for Fletcher Sharp. Any thoughts there, James?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, losing Ponga this year or for most of this season has been hard, but it's been great to see those young guys step up. We're losing Armstrong, but Sharp looks really good. He looks
yeah. I mean, we couldn't be in a better position here, really, with
in the fullback position.
Ponga. Yeah, it's great. So then, if we go into the center and the wing positions, you can see here that we only at the start of the season had six signed out of a potential 8 positions. So this has definitely been a massive weakness for us, and one of the key reasons why we've got the second worst or third worst attack in the competition. And we haven't picked Moffendriki. Kyle McCarthy's been playing pretty well in reserve grade. We haven't seen this guy. Fletcher Myers hasn't been doing so well.
There's no size there, is there? Like when it comes to tall guys, they're all pretty.
Well, Jenkins has failed. He had a decent frame, but he didn't play well at all on the wing. But I think he's more of a centre. Mapalangi, he only got 1 shot, but he didn't play so well. And apart from that, it's been Best Gay Guy, Marju, and Tuala, and that combo hasn't produced for us. And there's some stubbornness there to try the only other option, really. Well, there's 2 options, Moffendriki and McCarthy. He looks pretty sharp. So, look, we'll just see how things go and if there's any change in attitude towards picking some of these other guys who are not doing so bad in reserve grade, Moffendriki and McCarthy. Mapalangi, I mean, I don't know. The only change I want to see is Moffendriki on the wing, and I'd bring him in for Tuala. That'd be or Marju. I don't know. It's a hard one. I'd try and bring him in for Tuala. Unfortunately, no, Tuala's a consistent player, but I'd like this. Try and go with what worked last year on that 10-run win streak, and maybe if there was a player on the other wing that offered a little bit more, maybe that would help Marju as well, take a bit of pressure off him. So that'd be my call. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, to be honest, I probably would have pitched Greg and kept Tuala.
Kept Tuala, yeah.
Mainly because Tuala is a lot more safer, and you're not going to get as many meters out of him, but hopefully you can make that up with Moffendriki killing it. But he's not going to do that, is he? O'Brien is.
Well, let's see. That's why we're doing this tonight, because we want a reference point to say, hey, we called this out at the end of round 15, and we're going to come back and refer to this as the season progresses, one way or the other. So the halves, I think your prediction at the start of the season was there's going to be a lot of shuffling around, and there has been, and they haven't got the selections right, in my opinion. If we had developed Will Price better and got him into the mold a bit faster, that might have got us some more wins and might have us in a better position leading into these next 10 matches.
Yeah, I mean, halves wise, I'd be going for Hastings Gamble, but Price hasn't even had a shot, so they haven't sort of blooded him in any sort of way.
Go and have a look at the highlights of last week's New South Wales Cup. Look at one of the passes that Will Price puts on. I said I think offline to you at the start of the season. I might have been on the preview. He reminds me a bit of Cody Walker.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm calling it. He's got a similar. I think he's got a similar feel for the attack. Look, I don't know how his defense is. He made 16 tackles on the weekend and missed 3. It's not too bad for a half. So, and amongst, if he was defending on that edge where Cogger is, he'd have Gay Guy and Frizzell with him. So they're pretty handy, experienced players to help guide a younger guy. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Doesn't get much better, does it?
No.
2 Origin
Great
players.
Player. Yeah.
So that probably goes to show you how bad Cogger is in defence. He's got those guys around him, and they really got found out there on the weekend in that first half. So, yeah, we're calling for Cogger to be scrapped and for Price to be injected straight into that 6 jersey. And if Gamble, and then we'll see how Will Price goes. Give him 4 or 5 games. Gamble will be on the improve when he gets back to full fitness. And if he hasn't aimed up, then put Gamble back in there. But do not waste another moment here with Cogger. It's just going to lead us down a path of nowhere.
It's just not working.
It's not working, and he's been stubborn enough. It should have been changed earlier. So that's our call on the halves. If we go to the forwards, we oversigned. We had 9 positions signed out of what we should probably have around 8. I don't think both of the Safidis, I called out at the start of the year in the preview that they need to be consistent and aim up and play well together. We haven't seen that all year. Jacob's been pretty good. Daniel's been up and down with his consistency, but they just both don't give us, I think, what we need. And my call is if I was a new recruitment manager coming in, I'd move on Daniel Safidi. I'd keep Jacob just to mix it up, break the brothers up, move Daniel on somewhere else, and bring in a bit of a different element into this forward pack. I wouldn't
mind starting with Jack Hetherington and getting Leo off the bench. I reckon Jack would be a bit of starch up front early. I just don't think we're getting enough from Leo at the moment. He's not giving us. I don't know what's going on there, but it seems a bit off.
The chemistry is not there 100%, is it? With the forwards, the starting middles. So, look, I don't disagree with starting Jack Hetherington at all and backing the guy. The other guys have been backed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and maybe Thompson can come off the bench and give us some good impact. I don't mind that. I don't mind it. I definitely wouldn't be dropping Jacob Safidi. I think he's been pretty good this year.
He's been good. Yeah.
And Adam Elliott, he's not bad. You can only play with what you've got, and we've had a pretty good run of injuries. Most of them are fit.
I'm not sure how it would work, but could you foresee a situation where it could be a KPP Frizzell with Lucas at lock? Or would Lucas be wasted with with the
I'd
defensive
keep Lucas
work
on the edge,
yeah,
and I think Frizzell could potentially be the lock.
yeah,
But that would be a change in the style of play. So I just don't think that's going to happen with O'Brien. Doesn't mean it's not the right way. Maybe if we had a different coach, Brad Arthur, for example, he might look at the squad. I'm sure he would. I'm sure we'd have a different style of play. And that style of play last year, I think. When did the Eels made the final? What was it?
Imagine
2 years
20,
ago. 2 years ago.
22, wasn't it?
That style of play that they had with the forwards, running off the back fence and offloads, that's probably a style of play with a good kicking game. Yeah, you never know. If we recruited Arthur, is a bit of a push for him, but I mean, maybe we'd recruit some of those. You never know. We might get a Mitchell Moses or something to the club. Anyway, when it comes to middle forwards, I'm calling for it now. This is my early prediction. I don't think Daniel Safida will see out his contract. And there's not much else. We've lost Miles Martin. He's gone. He's going to the Raiders. There's not much else there that's pushing up from reserve grade. Really, I think the only other thing that you could look at, James, is what you said there, is putting Hetherington into the starting side. We couldn't be doing much better in the back row with KPP and Dylan Lucas. So we've moved on Jed Cartwright because of that. We don't necessarily need him. And we've also got Thomas Cant there as well. He could do a job if he was called up. So not too much else to say there, is there, mate? It's that's probably our strongest. They've developed really well. Same as the fullback position.
Yeah, they're pretty strong there, I think.
Very strong. Yeah. So hookers. Well, I was worried about Brayley not making it through because of injury and being injury prone, but that hasn't happened. But
he's
pretty
not offering a lot,
lackluster.
though, is he?
His performance, no, he doesn't offer a lot. Pretty lackluster. I'd be tempted to bring Riley Jones in right now. Not that he's he doesn't strike me to be a Cameron Smith, and I think I made the same call at the start of the year in the preview. And I did say at the start of the year in the preview that a lot of our season is going to hinge on Jaden Brayley and if he can aim up and own that 9 role. And at the moment, he hasn't done that. He stayed on the field. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's time to look at Riley Jones or...
So what, do you don't think Phoenix is a starting 9? Or
I'd be starting Phoenix. He started there on our 10-run thing last year, right? So
yeah,
I'd be running with Phoenix at 9, and I'd be maybe I'd be either looking at playing 3 forwards from the bench, or looking at someone someone with a utility value that could even be Will Price. You could even play Will Price on the bench.
Yeah.
Or looking at a Riley Jones if his form warrants being given a shot.
Yeah.
But I think something needs to be done there with Brayley. And I'd also move him on. They've got to, here we go. Sorry, it's not Peter Mulholland. It's Peter O'Sullivan. I got it wrong. So Peter O'Sullivan is signed. He's going to be the recruitment manager. I'm not sure if that's immediate or if it's for next year. Hopefully it's immediate. And he can get in here and sort out this squad a little bit. But we have lost here David Armstrong, Miles Martin, who's a promising player, and Jed Cartwright, who's a toiler, and he's moved on to the Super League. But look, Peter O'Sullivan's got a really good batch of players to work with here. And if he can come in and sprinkle some of his magic, the only question to me is are they going to keep the coach? Is this side for the rest of the 10 games going to aim up and make the finals? And does the coach keep his spot? Or does Peter O'Sullivan come in and they start with a new coach and do a bit of a mini rebuild? Because it's, the writing's on the wall. You've got a new recruitment manager coming in. Maybe that's going to coincide with a new coach.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how we go towards, if we're not winning games, that could definitely be on the cards. So
Well, it is on the cards because I can tell you in the Peter Parr interview a few weeks back on the Knights website, if anyone wants to go back and watch it, he did say that the side probably should have won a couple more matches this year. So, yeah, when it comes to Adam O'Brien's review, that was before they lost 3 matches in a row. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so Adam O'Brien, the pressure is on, and look, he's at that stage of his coaching career here at Newcastle where the pressure should be on, and he has to aim up, and then the team need to respond.
Isn't it strange though, where when you usually have, like, say, Dimitri's situation, and everyone's like, he's lost the team, the players aren't playing for him. That it's not. We're not losing because he's lost the players or the players aren't playing for him. It seems to be legit. It's legit coaching tactics and issues.
Yeah. It is interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see whether Adam O'Brien can adapt. And I think that's going to be the key to our season. If Adam O'Brien can adapt, he needs to adapt. He needs to get the team selections right. He needs to adjust the tactics. And if he does that with the players he's got, this team can still make the finals. That's it. I think that's my final say after taking all this in. And James, just a quick look at your side that you picked there in the previous start of the year. I mean, is there anything you changed there? I mean,
yeah,
happy with?
I'd ditch Cogger.
Yep.
I'd put Tyson Gamble there.
Yep.
And
if he was fit, so who would you put there now?
If he was fit. Oh, right now at 5'8".
Yeah.
God.
You wouldn't put Price there?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah. I'd give him a crack. Throw him in, and let him. If he makes mistakes, he makes mistakes. It's not the end of the world. No. Can't be worse than what it is now.
Get around him.
Yeah.
Make him a better player. But he's definitely got the physique for it, and he's got the touches. Go and have a look at that. Go and look at some of the highlights in the New South Wales Cup from last week, guys and girls.
I think definitely Phoenix at 9. I rate him way more than I think he offers a lot more than Brady.
Yeah, so you've called that out at the start of the season. Yep.
Yeah. And no one got messed over more in that period. I mean, he struggled with that whole spine issue in the beginning because he didn't know where he stood, and he was a bit off at the start of the year, and he lost his position.
Yeah.
But he's bounced back and putting in every week. Definitely Lucas in there. He stays. Elliott is another one that I'm not convinced is our 13. He can stay there for now, though. But I just don't think we're getting enough out of him either.
Yeah, look, if I was a recruitment manager coming in, if I was going to be, let's just quickly go over this. There's not much we can really do now from fullback. So we've got Ponga and Fletcher Sharp there. They stay. And I think it's actually not a bad move that Armstrong moves on. So I made that call last week, but I'd be managing Marju out of the side, out of the club. I'd be getting rid of Jenkins straight away, and Mapalungi you can go too. I'd keep Tuala. I think he's a great fill-in, and I don't know a lot about Fletcher Myers, but I'd be potentially looking at keeping Mothendriki and also Kyle McCarthy. Both of those players, there's some good things to build on there. But yeah, there's a number of players there that I'd be looking to move on. That'd be the first thing I'd probably look at is these outside backs and trying to shuffle them around and fix that immediately. And then I mean Gamble. It's a tough one. He's due, but I'd be definitely managing Cogger out of this. From what I've seen, I'd be just trying to get him out of it and send him back to the Super League too. And I'd be keeping Gamble. And I'd be keeping Price and even Zach Herring. He didn't look too bad in reserve grade last week. So, but yeah, Cogger, I'd be putting a red pin for him When it comes to the forwards, I've already called out Daniel Safidi, and I'd probably call out Adam Elliott as well. I'd march him on. Maybe I'd keep Etherington. I reckon he needs to be coached differently. And I don't know what's happened with Croker this year.
Who's that winger we're getting from Canberra next year? Is that next year we're getting? Is it
Schiller, I think. Yeah. Well, there you go. There's one player that comes in. So
that'll help.
Yeah, we've lost Miles Martin here in the forwards. Paul Bryan hasn't really done anything, and Sewer, although he looked good in the trials, I don't think he's done a lot to really put his hand up. So definitely we're going to need some recruitment decisions made there in the middle. And I mean, we're great there in the back row.
Yeah.
And we'll probably march on Bailey. So look, I think we're looking at a semi-rebuild here of that squad if we're actually going to aim to win a premiership. And I think that might coincide with the changing coach. But we'll see how the rest of the year goes. But yeah, I mean, just looking at it, going through the squad, that's why we're doing it now before, things might go downhill. Just so we've got it all on the record here. We've analysed this again. It's all on the record. And Peter O'Sullivan's coming in, and we've got 10 matches for Adam O'Brien to make a difference. And if I went, this is my preview team. I had Mothindriki there on the wing. And I had Price there at 6. So, yeah, and that's basically the side I'd like to see. I mean, Phoenix, I'd probably bring Phoenix in at. I don't think Brayley's aimed up enough to keep his spot as a starting 9, so I'd bring Phoenix in. And I'd probably, most likely, I'd swap Lucas now for KPP. I'd put KPP on the bench for Lucas and put him in at the 12 and probably stick with Elliott for now, based on the style of play and what the coach does. And maybe you'll move there to promote Hetherington into the starting pack over Thompson. That could be a good move, but most of the players are there. The main thing for me is I want to see Mothindriki and Price being given a shot. I think, we don't keep definition of insanity. We don't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result.
That's it.
I definitely can't see it there with, especially there with Cogger. Rightio. Well, any final thoughts here? Well, this is where we'll wrap up the squad stuff. So, pretty exciting news there with Peter O'Sullivan coming in. And any final thoughts, James, on the squad?
No, I think we went through it pretty comprehensively. Both of our thoughts on any sort of what we think changes or moving guys on. So I'm happy with what we put across there.
Yeah, I think if O'Brien shuffles the cards in the right positions and sticks with the team spirit and they play for him, and maybe maybe a few adaptations from him as a coach, and with those right, with a Price in there and a Mothindriki, they could be the elements to change the attack and to change the trajectory of this team and this season. And if he sticks with the same players and the cards in the places that he's had them, and if he be stubborn, I think that's going to lead to his demise and potential fall from grace. So that's my prediction. But I hope he adapts, and I hope that we end up making the finals. And it's probably in the club's best interest to have a long-term coach. But we don't want a long-term coach that's not performing, and it's all on the line. 10 matches to go for the rest of the season. So when it comes to betting and our judgment, we've had a pretty good run at 17% profit on turnover for the year. James is the rookie at 3% turnover for the year, but you're making a profit now. If you were just backing the Knights week in, week out at head-to-head odds, you'd be losing 17% of your money. So overall, we've got runs on the board here. We had a rest last week. I probably would have landed the bet last week. I would have taken the Knights most likely at +8.5 start, but I didn't, and I can't claim it. So at the moment, we've got the bye this week, and we're going to sit back and see. We've gone over this. No one else is going to go over this coaching performance, team performance, squad performance as much as we have in this podcast for the Knights, James. I think our judgment's been pretty good this year, and we're going to continue to go through a methodical process here of review and preview for the next 10 weeks of the season, even if it goes pear-shaped. And we're going to push for team performance. We, as a club and as a fan base, we deserve the best. The Knights supporters are the best in the comp, members and supporters, and we deserve the best. We deserve a consistent performing team, aiming, every year to challenge for a top 4 spot and put ourselves there for a chance in the big dance at the end of the year. That's how I see it.
Yeah, fair call.
Yeah, so that's it. We're gonna continue to push for that, and then the players and the coaching staff at the end of the day are just pieces of that puzzle. And yeah, let's hope that O'Brien can aim up and get us into the finals for the rest of the year. That's my final call. Look, it's been 1 hour and 36 minutes, James. We were meant to do a bye this week, and we didn't, and we've gone into a full review. And I think this is going to be something that we'll look back on at the end of the season, and whether we were right or wrong, we'll be stoned or glorified, one way or the other.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Well, the thing is, we've got the bye. And we've got the Eels at home, which is a very winnable game. So,
yeah,
it starts there. It's as cliche as that sounds, it really does.
One match at a time. Yeah, 100%. That's how O'Brien, looks at it. I think one match at a time. Doesn't look at ladders. But if I was him, I'd be having a pretty good look at the ladder at the moment, and be having a pretty serious think about what moves he's going to make for this next match against the Eels, because if they lose that match, he's going to be under a lot of pressure.
Heaps of pressure. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to that game. But it's been a disappointing season so far. It's hard.
It has been disappointing.
Hard to sort of we just got to call it how it is, and it has been. So
that's it.
Hopefully the boys can push forward, beat the Eels, and just go for it.
That's it. We are calling it how it is. Have a crack. Not that I haven't had a crack this year, but the most disappointing thing is that there was an expectation coming into this year, and they haven't lived up to that expectation. And yeah, I mean, I guess the final call from us is that we think it's probably more coaching based as opposed to player based. So that's our call, and we'll stick to that. If you guys, if you've liked what we've done tonight, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate the support, and give us a like, a thumbs up. Definitely appreciate that. You can also get us on the audios on Spotify and Apple. They come out on Wednesdays after our live show. Our social media is on Facebook and X. So we're more heavy on X when we get onto the socials. So look, that wraps us up for tonight, James. Thanks for getting your hands dirty in the bye round, and hopefully the players are out there doing extras as well. I think they go back to training tomorrow. It's Wednesday. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully the boys aren't over in Bali, getting tats or whatever they did last time. But looking forward to doing this again next week, leading up to the Eels game. Sorry, or when we do the next one. So it's basically do or die for the Knights now, isn't it? It's getting real tough.
Yeah, it's do or die. It's do or die.
Yeah.
Every one game at a time, and yeah, it's good. We've really laid things on the table tonight, and that gives us a foundation for the rest of the season. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And just to make it clear, one final time, we are really focused here on performance of this club, of this team, and we want to push here for a final spot. And we won't accept anything less than a final spot this year. Unless there's exceptional circumstances. And yeah, destiny's in our hands. We've got a pretty fit roster. It's just it's up to us to put it together and to get the wins on the board. They need to get 7 out of 10 probably to make the finals from here. Do you think they're going to do it?
Look, they can do it. I hope they can do it. I'm not overly confident, and I'm not sure what's happening with Cameron Bonga. Is he going to be available at any stage, or depending on how we're going?
I don't know. I'm not going to be able. I can't say that. I think we can still make the 8, but I think we're going to learn a lot on Teamless Tuesday next week. So tune in for that, live and free, 7 p.m. next week. That Teamless Tuesday is going to be, I think, a critical indication of where we're heading. And whoever is named, they've got to win that match against the Eels. So that's what we're looking forward to. Mate, enjoy the bye round weekend. No nights matches. Whatever you get up to, enjoy it. And I don't know. We've been playing the winning team song. I'm not really in the mood to play that tonight. It's a bye round. So I think we're just going to end it here, mate. So, yeah, thanks again mate. For your effort.
Yeah, no dramas. I'll see you next time. I always enjoy doing it. So, yeah, we'll bring it on next week.
Yeah, it's been a good one, mate. It's been a bit long-winded and definitely some things here that we don't want to be doing right now. We don't want to be, to be frank, I wish we didn't have to do the bye round. And I wish we were sort of sitting in the top 4. And, we're looking forward to getting into the Eels, but we're not there. And that's why we've taken the time to do this tonight. So thanks again, James. And, tune in live and free next week, 7 p.m. for Teamless Tuesday, guys and girls. Thank you. Adios.